This week on Truth Bomb Consequences Edition, I don't know what is more, amusing or disturbing or any other adjective. The news about Microsoft founder Bill Gates or the news about failed CNN host Don Lemon. Let's start with Bill Gates, shall we? The tech zillionaire and vaccine enthusiast, seen here with public health supremo Anthony Fauci. Gates' name was mentioned in the latest Department of Justice drop of Jeffrey Epstein emails. And guess what, folks? It seems that back in 2013, Epstein wrote an email to himself in what appears to have been a file note about an argument he says he had with Gates, alleging that not only did Gates engage in sex with Russian girls, giving them the jab, as it were, but that he also contracted an STD and asked for antibiotics he could surreptitiously give to his wife, Melinda. Because, well, apparently the world's most famous software engineer wasn't taking enough precautions against viruses. Now, again, these are all allegations from Jeffrey Epstein, someone who might be considered an unreliable witness, and there are reports that Epstein had drafted the emails on behalf of one of Gates' aggrieved employees. And the Gates Foundation, of course, we have to say this, had issued a statement saying that the claims in these emails are, quote, absurd and false. But I guess it's just a funny coincidence, then, that in this very same year, 2013, when all this was alleged to have gone down, that Bill Gates offered a prize of $100,000 to whomever could invent a so-called super condom. And by the way, he never paid off that bet. But in 2021, he did write a check for billions of dollars to his now ex-wife Melinda, who left him in part because of his ties to Epstein. Funny that, but not as funny, frankly, as the FAFO comeuppance being experienced by CNN has-been Don Lemon. Last seen in what can only be described as the invasion of a Baptist church in Minnesota, which was targeted last month by anti-Trump, anti-immigration enforcement protesters because of claims the pastor had ties to ICE. Here's a bit of what that looked like. And Don Lemon himself, walking or in fact crossing the line between journalist and activist, also confronted the pastor in question.
We're here to worship Jesus. Yes. That's why we're here. Yeah. Okay, that's why we're here. Okay. That's what we're about.
Don't you think Jesus would be understanding
we're about
and love these folks?
We're about spreading the love of Jesus.
But did you try to talk to them as a Christian?
No one is willing to talk.
Okay.
I have to take care of my church and my family, so I asked that you actually would also leave this building.
You don't want us to chronicle what happened?
Unless you're here to worship.
I'm always worship. I'm a Christian.
We're here to worship. Yeah. We're here to worship. Okay.
Thank you very much.
Well, here the very Christian Lemon reveled in how his group chased people out of the church, saying the action he participated in was traumatic and uncomfortable. And that was the whole point.
You know, I've imagined it's uncomfortable and traumatic for the people here. But again, careful, it's very slippery right here. Yeah. It's uncomfortable and traumatic for the people here, but that's what really, careful, please, really slippery. Not kidding. That's what protesting is about. And so
yes, well, Lemon may have gotten himself in a bit of trouble here because guess what? Federally speaking, that sort of trouble is a bit of a no-no. Because while the First Amendment protects freedom of speech, it also protects freedom of worship and the right to worship unmolested by people like Don Lemon. And thanks to something called the FACE Act, which was designed in part and perhaps ironically to protect access to abortion clinics, it is specifically a federal crime to interfere with services at religious houses of worship. And as they say, play stupid games, win stupid prizes, because Lemon has now been arrested and indicted on 2 counts by a federal grand jury on charges of federal civil rights violations, to which I say, good. Of course, the usual suspects are losing their mind. MS Now, you'll remember it as MSNBC, is calling the FACE Act an obscure law that's being used against him. Don't you love this reasoning? This is the weirdest defense I've heard since they were all screaming that Renee Good shouldn't have been shot because she was wearing a beanie. And ironically, an anti-Trump outfit calling itself, get this, the Not Above the Law Coalition, has issued a furious statement suggesting that, well, maybe in this case, Don Lemon should be above the law. Because if what I just showed you wasn't enough to convince you that Lemon wasn't going there as a journalist, but rather as part of the mob, well, look at this, where Lemon talks on camera about hiding information about their mission so as not to blow their cover.
It may look like MAGA coded, but there's a reason they have so many white people here. I'm just going to be honest. It's because of the operation that they're doing today. It's important to have allies, as they said, white allies here. So that is what I could say.
Great work, Don. Your post-CNN relevance deprivation syndrome could potentially land you in the clink for up to a year. It's the ultimate truth bomb. Everyone knows, but everyone forgets. Actions have consequences.